How to ask 25 years later if I misread the situation. 44/46F. Hey all, 44M here, married but divorcing, and I keep writing this and it keeps getting deleted in every place I've tried to ask. So mods, bear with me please. I know no one can tell me for sure. I just want to know how other people would read this situation and maybe help me come to terms with this. So about a year before I met my wife, I found myself traveling home from Air Force technical training for a few days off, and a girl I have known since we were babies offered to pick me up at the airport. Mind you, aside from a college tour earlier the same year, we didn't hang out much at all, and never really just the two of us. Our moms are best friends, so anytime they got together, we would hang out in the basement while the adults hung out upstairs, right up until high school at least. She was a year older, so at that point she was rarely there when we would visit, and we spent less and less time together, especially when she graduated. We also lived about an hour away, so not like we saw each other at school either, but by that time I was crushing pretty hard but had zero confidence in high school. Anyway, we had never just hung out away from our parents, so this was a first for us. She picked me up, but instead of driving me home, she bought me lunch at a nice restaurant by the airport. We were both into aviation, so the restaurant was something she thought I might like because the tables had radios where you could listen to the control tower talking to the pilots. After lunch, she took me to this spot on a hill that overlooked the runway where the planes would fly directly over us. We sat there for a couple hours catching up and talking about whatever came to mind. I remember thinking if this were a date, it would be the perfect first date. But I also remember telling myself just because she's being nice doesn't mean she's into you. She's just being friendly. I convinced myself I was reading too much into it and never grew a pair and asked her out. A year later, I met my wife. We all hung out and did some camping together through college, but I never have been able to shake the feeling there was something there. These days, I see her maybe once a year at a fundraiser we do, but we've grown so far apart that we barely talk more than the casual "how have you been" small talk. I wouldn't say I'm still crushing on her, but for whatever reason, I can't help but wonder if I should have just asked her out back then. Of course, now as I am going through a divorce, I feel even more compelled to know because I don't know if I can trust my instincts when it comes to learning how to date again. I mean, did I really pass up a chance with someone I connected with? Will I be able to recognize a connection like that in the future, or will I just talk myself down again? The anxiety is killing me. Please, someone tell me I'm not crazy to think there might have been a vibe that I completely talked myself out of recognizing.
You're not crazy to think there might have been a vibe that you completely talked yourself out of recognizing. However, like you said, it was a long time ago. You both are in very different places now. Your friendship seems to have petered out too. Why even ask? It's not like knowing the answer will change your present. And what ifs are rarely healthy to dwell upon.
Honestly, I don't know. It's one of those things that has been in my head for all these years. I keep coming back to it as if knowing would somehow provide closure. Not even sure closure is the right word for it. I feel like I've never been able to decipher kindness from interest. Even with my wife, if a friend who knew she was interested hadn't flat told me, I was convinced she was just being friendly. I've had other interactions with females over the years as well that I have clearly misread interest as friendliness. Most were in college before my wife and I started getting serious. But it's like this one experience has defined the way I interpret interactions with women, and if I knew her side of the story, it would somehow help me recognize interest versus just being friendly. Even that doesn't seem to really hit the mark trying to quantify this need to know, but that's the best I can explain it.
Let's say you ask, and she confirms that she was indeed hitting on you, but you missed it. What are you going to do that is going to be different than what you would do if you never asked her and never got a confirmation? I get the need for closure, and I don't think you definitely shouldn't ask her. Given your now distant relationship, I think it would be easy for you to ask this question without affecting your relationship with her. But since you're asking for advice, I recommend thinking about what outcome you want from this interaction. Once you know that your decision will become clearer.
No clue what I would do with the info. I would hope it would just help me move past the unknown, maybe find some confidence to not talk myself out of something that feels real enough in the future. That would be a good result, I guess. But if she says it wasn't real, well, I pretty much know that I am in deep shot when it comes to figuring out dating in the future.
Okay, if you know how you would feel if she gave either of the two possible answers, and if you really want confirmation and closure, then go for it. You know what to do with the info you get.